Well, good morning, everyone. So I invite you right now to join me in reading our mission statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's exactly what we are doing here at Living Beyond Limits, as we are awakening to our spiritual nature, to the fact that at our very essence, at our core, we are spiritual beings. Spiritual beings here having a human experience, but spiritual at our primary level. That means then if we are spiritual, we are of spirit, that one infinite presence and power and creativity and potentiality and power for good that is expressing itself as this physical universe expresses itself in and through and as each one of us. That means then that what is true of spirit in the macrocosm is true of us in the microcosm. That if spirit is love, love exists within us. If the very essence of spirit is goodness, that same goodness lives within us. If spirit contains that element of peace and wholeness and power, those also already live within us, even when we don't see them, even when we have a hard time accessing them. But the difference is when we know that that already exists within us, we know that we can access that. So when the world is not being loving or kind or generous or good, we don't need it to be that way in order for us to be that way. We tap into our own spirit and are able to bring that into the world as the thing that is needed in that moment, in that conversation, in that relationship. And as we do that, we then consciously participate in our own evolution, our own unfolding, and because everything is connected to everything else, we participate in that collective evolution of humanity. It's like ripples out into the pond that affects the whole. And so I thank every one of you for answering the call of your spirit to be walking this path, to be bringing your light into this world in a way that is beneficial to everyone. Thank you for that. Do you ever feel really angry? And when you get angry, what do you do with that energy? Do you explode? Do you yell? Do you say something that you end up regretting later and can't take it back? Or when you get angry, do you get quiet and shut down and seethe on the inside, and then eat some cookies or have a drink? You know, oftentimes when we get angry, we express that anger in ways that are destructive. Either destructive to the people around us, destructive to our relationships, or actually destructive to ourselves. I know that a lot of us were probably raised with that idea that anger, or to be angry, isn't okay, or it's bad, or it's not acceptable at least. And in turn, when we've been raised with that idea, then sometimes we actually don't express our anger outwardly. Instead, we suppress it, we stuff it down until the intensity of our anger subsides. Expressed, unchecked anger that is expressed can destroy relationships. And on the other hand, suppressing our anger can make us feel sick and exhausted. If we never really deal constructively or adequately with our anger, then we end up feeling resentful toward whoever or whatever caused that anger, and we carry that anger around towards who triggered that anger within us, sometimes as resentment. Or sometimes what happens if we don't express it is we just generalize that anger, and then it gets expressed out in the world on people that had nothing to do with our anger. You know, you come home and kick the dog because you're mad at your boss, kind of thing. Or we certainly see that being expressed today as road rage. People that are being jerks on the road, and clearly that is displaced anger. They more than likely have lots of frustrations and irritations of things they haven't dealt with in their own life, so they're just taking it out on the general population. But in reality, anger is like electricity. You can use electricity in ways that are harmful, in ways that are destructive, like you can shock someone, or you could kill someone, or you could burn a house down with that electricity, or you can destroy things, or you can use that same electricity to illuminate your house, or to run a hospital, or to cook your dinner, or do your laundry, or run machinery. So the goal isn't to eliminate electricity. The goal is to use it constructively. And so the title of this talk today is The Power of Anger. And what I'm talking about is that anger isn't something to be feared. It isn't something to be repressed or to be denied. Instead, it is a powerful signal inside of us pointing to the fact that healing needs to take place somewhere. Pointing to the fact that perhaps your boundaries have been crossed, or perhaps there is an injustice in the world that needs tending to. So our job really then is to understand our anger, to understand what's underneath it, to understand where it's coming from, to discover what it's about. And then to use that information to channel that energy of our anger to something that is productive, something that is useful, something that is healing, something that promotes justice or that promotes good in the world. To use that energy that has already welled up inside of us. Our anger is really an alarm bell. It's telling us that something isn't right. It's an alarm bell that's telling us a boundary has been crossed, or our values have been dismissed. There's an injustice in the world. There's a fear that has been triggered inside of us, because you know what? Sometimes it's easier to feel anger than it is to feel sadness or to feel fear, which is underneath the anger. And sometimes that anger that has been triggered out of fear could be a fear from our childhood, something that's no longer even active in our lives today, or it could be a fear about something that's happening in your life today or that's going to happen. So one of those possibilities of anger is that you feel angry because you've had a button pushed, a button that was installed in your childhood. Anyone ever have that happen? If you don't know this, I'm going to tell you. If you have a sudden, huge emotional reaction to something that is intense, that is disproportionate to or bigger than what is appropriate for that circumstance, your button has been pushed. That's how you know it's your button. It's a big reaction, and it's really much bigger than what just happened here. So our job then first is to know that our button has been pushed, and to name it as that. Oh, look, my button got pushed. And the second thing is to discover where it's coming from. And this is how I've learned to do that. I ask myself what I'm feeling in that moment, what's happening inside of me, what does this feel just like? What else happened in my life, maybe in my childhood, that feels just like how I feel on the inside right now? That tells you where that button came from. What does this feel like? So you discover what exactly it feels like. That helps you discover that original trauma, the original pain, where it came from. and then you separate the two things. That was then, the original one. This is now. Oh, that was my mother. This is my neighbor. Oh, that was my father. This is my coworker. You have to be able to separate those two things out. They feel the same, but they're not the same. That anger, though, is telling you that something needs to be healed. It's asking you for love. It's asking you for compassion. It's asking you to have clarity about that was then, this is now. It's not like it goes away, but what happens is when we can recognize this is not the same thing as that, it takes the power out of it. And so let me give you an example. So I have a button that gets pushed still in my life, and I know exactly where it came from. When I was in junior high school, and it was Christmas time, and my parents used to hide the Christmas presents under their bed. And because I was in junior high, I went snooping to see what was going to come for Christmas. And my mother must have somehow found out that I was snooping. And it was like, a week or two later, I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and she comes in and opens the bathroom door and wants to know where those necklaces are. The necklaces are missing. And I say, I don't know what she's talking about. She said, you stole those necklaces. I did not steal those necklaces. She called me a thief. She called me a liar. She slammed the door and left and wasn't speaking to me. Well, I grew up in this alcoholic, my dad was an alcoholic, violent household. She was the only one I could depend on. She was the only one I could lean into. She was the only one that was safe. And now she's accusing me of something I didn't do and basically abandoning my safety net, abandoning me. So today, when someone accuses me of doing something that I didn't do, boy, that button gets pushed, and I have that huge emotional reaction. So my job is to recognize, oh, this is my spouse, not my mother. I have to be able to separate those two things out. That's how we're able to deal with that. So, did your anger push your button? Or is the anger really about that somebody crossed a boundary of yours? And that means then you need to ask yourself, is there something I need to do here to take care of myself? To ask yourself, do I need to restate a limit or set a limit? Do I need to leave this situation or leave this room or maybe even leave this relationship if it's something that keeps happening over and over again? But our boundaries aren't about controlling another person. They're about taking care of ourselves. The morning sun warmed Maya's studio, but her canvas remained blank. For months, she had promised herself that she would finish her landscape painting, but her phone vibrated constantly with requests for help. Monday, a neighbor asked her to watch their dog. Wednesday, a friend needed help moving heavy furniture. Friday, her sister begged her to bake cookies for a party. Maya said yes to everyone because she feared disappointing them. She felt exhausted, and her artistic passion was fading. One evening, Maya looked at her untouched paints and felt a sharp wave of sadness. She realized that by saying yes to everyone else, she was saying no to herself. The next day, she texted her friends and family. She announced that every evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., her phone would be off so she could paint. The truest test came 2 days later when her friend texted her at 5:50, asking for a last-minute ride to the store. Maya felt a pang of guilt, but she took a deep breath and held her boundary. I cannot help tonight, Maya texted back. I'm painting during my creative hours, and she turned off her phone. Some people were annoyed at first, but they quickly adjusted and learned to respect her time. Weeks later, Maya stood proudly in front of a finished, vibrant masterpiece. By holding her line, she finally found space to bloom. So it's not about controlling what other people do, it's about setting a boundary so you can take care of yourself. You might have to repeat, I told you I'm not available for this, or I told you I won't participate in this, or whatever your boundary is. But you are the one that has to extricate yourself and not participate in it, not get the other person to change their asking you. That's not how it works. And then there's another option, or is your anger telling you that there is an injustice that is happening? Are you being called to speak up? Are you being called to stand up? To take a stand? To be an ally? To do something? Rosa Parks is often remembered as a quiet, tired seamstress who simply refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus in 1955. But that popular story leaves out one important truth. Rosa Parks wasn't just tired physically, she was tired of injustice. For years, she had witnessed Black Americans being humiliated, threatened, and denied basic human dignity. She had investigated cases of racial violence and worked with the NAACP and experienced discrimination herself. Did you know that she worked with the NAACP since 1947, and this didn't happen until 1955? By the time she boarded the bus, her refusal wasn't an impulsive act of defiance. It was the result of years of righteous anger transformed into moral outrage. Later, she reflected, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Her anger did not erupt in violence. She didn't shout at the driver or attack anyone. Instead, she calmly remained seated and accepted the consequences of her choice. Her arrest sparked the Montgomery Improvement Association and the Montgomery bus boycott, led in part by Martin Luther King Jr. For 381 days, thousands of people chose disciplined, nonviolent action over retaliation. Their collective response eventually led the U.S. Supreme Court to strike down bus segregation. What changed history wasn't the absence of anger, it was anger transformed into disciplined, purposeful action. This goes on to say, anger is often misunderstood as something to suppress or fear, but anger is simply energy. It tells us that something we value has been violated. Left unchecked, it can become resentment or aggression. Guided by wisdom and compassion, it becomes courage. Rosa Parks reminds us that constructive anger doesn't ask, how can I hurt someone back? It asks, how can I help make this right? Her story invites us to see anger not as an enemy, but as a messenger, one that can awaken us to injustice and inspire us to become agents of healing and transformation. There's an ancient Greek word, themos, and it means spirited energy, passion, the inner force that rises in defense of dignity, justice, courage, or something deeply valued. In ancient Greece, themos was not simply uncontrolled anger. It was understood as a vital force from within the soul. The spirited energy that moves a person to defend what is good, to confront injustice, to protect the vulnerable, and to act courageously. So anger really is an energy inside of us that is there to motivate us to make positive changes. To make positive changes in our lives, in our relationships, in the world, with humanity, whatever it's calling you for. But in order to do that, we must be able to hear what the message is that's underneath the huge emotional reaction that we have. And so I'm going to give you some questions that I invite you to ask yourself when you're feeling angry. What is underneath my anger? Will you repeat that after me? What is underneath my anger? What is the deeper message here? What is the deeper message here? Is it that your boundaries have been crossed? Is it that your values have been ignored? Is a truth being denied? You can ask yourself, what need of mine is asking to be met? What need of mine is asking to be met? And the last one, what steps can I take? What steps can I take? So I'm just going to repeat those again. What is underneath my anger? What is the deeper message here? What need of mine is being asked to be met? What steps can I take? We have to dig underneath the anger to see what it's about. Audre Lorde, in her book, The Uses of Anger, says, anger is loaded with information and energy. We have to find the information that's there. So we can use anger as a messenger. We can use anger as a tool on our spiritual path when it's motivated by love. When it's motivated by love for ourselves, or love for another person, or love for humanity, or love for the planet. You know, as spiritual beings having this human experience, we want to be motivated to make positive changes in the world and in our own lives. We want to be able to use our anger constructively rather than destructively. We want to change what isn't working in our lives and in the world. So anger really then, I think, is an alarm bell that is so loud inside of us that it will not allow us to stay asleep. Anger is an alarm bell inside of us that is so loud, it will not allow us to remain asleep. It's there to wake us up and to motivate us to do something. So I think the key then is to use our anger coupled with love. Love for ourselves, love for others, love for this planet. And when we use our anger coupled with love, we cannot go wrong. So whoever thought that anger could actually be part of your spiritual path? Could be a spiritual tool. Ernest Holmes tells us, use your intellect, imagination, and feeling for the purpose of seeing and sensing freedom instead of bondage, joy instead of unhappiness, plenty instead of want, health in place of disease. The very denial of your good keeps that good from you. That means then sitting in our anger and seething and not doing anything with it except seething keeps us stuck in victimhood, and it keeps what we want at bay. It doesn't allow it to come into our lives if we just sit in the anger and don't use it. So using our anger, motivated by love, enables us to co-create a life that is in alignment with our values, that is in alignment with our principles, that is in alignment with a world of justice, and that is in alignment with a world of care. So my invitation to you this week is, when you get angry, pause. You all know this. Create some space between stimulus and response, because if you respond instantly, that's when we yell or shut down or whatever we do. Create some space between the stimulus and response. And then figure out what is beneath your anger. What is it telling you? What need needs to be met? What boundary has been crossed? What do you need to ask for? What do you need to stand up for? Ask yourself what is underneath. And then respond from a grounded place. After you figure out what it's about, you have to get yourself grounded in your own wholeness and grounded in love. And then you have the conversation. Then you do whatever it is that your spirit is calling you to do, and the anger is just the bell that's calling you. Use your anger constructively as a motivating force for your own personal growth, for your own well-being, for appropriate action in the world. Action that is rooted in love and rooted in clarity. Ask yourself, what is mine to do here? Underneath that anger, ask that, what is mine to do here? Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to employ compassionate action? Do I need to use my voice for someone who has no voice here? And as a result, you'll be moving from reaction to purpose, living with purpose, living your purpose. You'll be moving from saying, this must change, to actually being a catalyst for that change, moving toward that change by your actions. Imagining what's possible and then moving in that direction. And as a result, you'll be consciously participating in your own evolution and in that collective evolution of humanity. And so blessings to each and every one of you as we all walk this path of spirit, as we walk this path of our own spirit, and as we discover really our own goodness and our own love and our own power and our own wholeness. Because really, life is supporting us in doing just that. So blessings to you all. And so I invite you to join me as we turn our attention to the capital T truth, recognizing that that infinite presence is always closer than my very breathing, that I live and move and have my beingness within this one. And this one is the principle of wholeness. It is a power and a creativity and an intelligence and a wisdom that this entire cosmos is founded on. It is that which was present before anything else, before anything in this physical universe. And it is present in its fullness right here, right now, as love, as intuition and wisdom, as the truth of each and every single one of us, at the truth of our wholeness and our power. And so what I know right now is that we are being supported by life to discover who and what we really are at the depth of our being, and to forever give way to our own greater yet to be. That everything that is showing up in our lives holds an invitation for just that. And so today, we embrace the possibility that anger is there as an alarm bell to help us, to support us in being all that we have come here to be. And so I know that we are led and we are guided and we listen within, and the wisdom of spirit reveals itself to us. That's exactly what we need to say, what we need to do. That wisdom might show up through the voice of a trusted friend. It might show up through some book we read. It might show up as our own intuition. But that wisdom reveals itself to us and guides us. And so I speak this word about every other person on this planet also, knowing that the fullness of Spirit is right where they are. And right now, it is unfolding itself in the life of each and every person, meeting the needs before the needs were even spoken. For Spirit is the abundance of life, the opulent good, the ever pouring forth of itself as this life. And of course, I speak this word also about every single politician, every world leader, knowing that the intelligence that Spirit is right where they are. That it is right in the midst of every single activity that they are participating in, and that it lives within their minds and their hearts and their bodies. And I know that Spirit is bigger and stronger and more powerful than anything that does not look like it. For half-truths, half expressions of God are only partial, and the fullness of Spirit is right there, expressing itself as perfect choices, as perfect actions that support humanity, that support this planet. And that presence is revealing itself right now. And so I release this prayer into that creative womb of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself all around us. And so we just remain open to that and hold that to be the truth. And I say, and so it is. So if anybody would like to talk some more about what I talked about today, about anger being a part of your spiritual path and how to use the stuff, I'm happy to have conversations, because that was kind of a new idea today that we've talked about in here. But I'm going to invite Carol Borowick to come up right now and tell you about a fundraiser that she and Sharon, you and Sharon sponsoring? That she and Barbara, oh, you said you didn't mean this, are sponsoring.
Yes, Barbara Conant and I are co-sponsoring a fundraiser on August 22nd. It's Saturday. It's called Bio-Spiritual Focusing, and it is learning to listen to your body. This is a tool that was developed many, many years ago by a couple of Catholic psychologists to help their patients express themselves better. The facilitator is Anne McClone. She's been doing this for many, many years. I've taken it with her for years. I've been on retreats with her. And some of you met her when we had the book club at Sharon's house. Anne was there. And so there's a sign-up sheet in the back. It's going to be at my house. There is a limited number at this time, but take a look, and if you have any questions, seek me out. I think you'll love it. Thank you.
Listening to your body, I love it. Jennifer, yes, ma'am.
We'd like to do another book club, so I'd like people to think about what book they'd like to read, kind of submit.
Okay, so if you'd like to be in a book club, if you'd like to do the book club again, if you have some ideas of books, talk to Sharon Baker, book ideas, and we'll get together, we'll plan that, and we'll get together and do that. So we're going to have a back-to-school drive for the children that are staying at the Long Beach Women's Shelter. There is a list in the back of school supplies that they are asking for. They need to be returned by August 23rd. We'd love to have you participate if that's something that you are interested in doing. The last Sunday of this month, we'll be having a picnic in the park again. We invite you to join our website community if you have not already done that. Mike Winterer is not here today. He can help you do that on another Sunday if you're having, if you don't quite know what to do it. Our Sunday talks are available on our website. They land in your email box also, usually on Tuesday or Wednesday. We invite you to share them with friends, family, people that might need to hear the messages and what we're talking about here, and to check in on Meetup and say you're coming, and follow us on Facebook and share. So all you have to do is hit that share button, and then it goes out to your audience, and that's how we build. That's how one of the ways we advertise today is to share those kinds of things on Facebook and on Instagram. So follow us and share those things, and I think that's it. Good fills my life now. I recognize it. I savor it. I love it. And I live it. And so it is.